In a world where people compete not for truth but for attention, where the loudest reaction is often mistaken for the strongest position, it becomes incredibly easy to believe that noise equals power. Everywhere you go, online, in relationships, in workplaces, you'll find people raising their voice, exaggerating their emotions, or throwing around dramatic statements just so they can feel dominant for one fleeting moment. But if you slow down long enough to observe the human experience with a clearer mind, something becomes obvious. True power has never needed chaos. It has never needed emotional fireworks. And it certainly has never needed noise. Real power is quiet. If you look into the teachings of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, you will notice something striking. The strongest people in history were not the ones who reacted quickly but the ones who chose their reactions carefully. They were not the ones who demanded control over others but the ones who mastered control over themselves. They were not the ones who needed to be understood, they were the ones who understood themselves. You simply cannot manipulate a person who sees clearly, thinks slowly, and responds intentionally. There is a kind of strength that cannot be taken away from you no matter what others do. A strength built on something the Stoics called prohairesis, your inner power to choose how you interpret events, how you think about them, and how you respond to them. Epictetus said, "You cannot control the events that happen to you, but you can always control the way you respond to them." And this truth is devastating to manipulators, because manipulation only works when you surrender your reactions. When you let someone pull you into their emotional storm, when you let them decide the pace of the argument, when you let them make you doubt yourself, that is when they win. But when you reclaim your internal power, that power becomes a wall they cannot climb, a fortress they cannot enter, and a silence they cannot decode. Today, we are going deep into the 7 habits that make a person impossible to manipulate. I'm not going to give you superficial tricks or temporary confidence boosts. I'm going to give you habits, mental armor, that will not only protect you from manipulation, but elevate your entire way of living. These habits will make you unshakable, unreadable, grounded, and respected without ever having to force anything. And as you watch this, if you feel something clicking inside you, if you feel that deep sense of self returning, that quiet confidence rising, I want you to gently tap the subscribe button. Not because of pressure, not because of hype, but because this is a space where every week, we train the mind to become untouchable. And if you want to continue on that journey, this is the place. But only do it if this message speaks to you. Now, let's begin. Number 1. The strategic silence. Manipulators thrive in environments where people talk too much. That is their playground. They rely on your need to explain yourself, your need to be understood, your need to fill every quiet moment with words. The more you talk, the more data they collect. They are not listening to understand you, they are listening to map you, to find your cracks, to detect emotional openings, to identify the hidden insecurities you reveal without knowing. But emotionally strong people do something radically different. They use silence as a strategy. To them, silence is not empty, it is awareness. It is observation. It is a moment where they gather clarity, step back mentally, and understand the deeper meaning of what is happening. Seneca once wrote, "No man is stronger than he who is master of his tongue." Most people speak to escape discomfort. The strong remain silent to understand it. When someone is trying to manipulate you, the first thing they need is your reaction. They need your emotions. They need your immediate response. But the moment you introduce silence, you break the rhythm they depend on. You create a gap, a space where you can see their intention more clearly than their words. And here's something you must understand, the manipulator is terrified of that gap. They do not want you thinking, they want you reacting. They do not want you observing, they want you defensive. They do not want you calm, they want you confused. When you choose strategic silence, you remove their power source. The Stoics believed that speech should be intentional, measured, and rooted in reason. Not in impulse. Not in ego. Not in insecurity. Strategic silence gives you time to evaluate all three levels of listening. Level 1, what they are saying. Level 2, how they are saying it, the emotion, the tension, the pressure. Level 3, why they are saying it, their intention, their goal, their desired outcome. When you begin listening at level 3, manipulation becomes impossible. You start seeing the hidden motivations behind the sweet words, the guilt-tripping, the sudden compliments, the fake concern, the emotional bait. You begin to see the entire pattern without needing to confront it verbally. Strategic silence is not passive. It is one of the most active forms of mental engagement. It says, I am aware. I am present. I am observing you, not reacting to you. Over time, manipulators avoid silent people because silence gives them no entry point. Practice the habit daily. When someone asks you a pressured question, pause. When someone gives you a suspicious compliment, pause. When someone tries to guilt-trip you, pause. Let silence do what arguments cannot. Let it reveal the truth. And if you're still with me up to this point, I want you to comment below with the words, I see more when I speak less. Because that alone, when practiced consistently, will change the way people interact with you. Number 2. They don't explain themselves too much. One of the clearest signs of emotional strength is the ability to stay rooted in your own decisions without feeling the need to justify them. A manipulator's favorite tactic is to pressure you into explaining yourself. They want you to defend your choices, defend your feelings, defend your boundaries, defend your defend your values, because once you start explaining, you start doubting, and once you start doubting, they can bend the situation in their favor. But strong individuals understand a simple truth: explanation is not always communication. Many times, explanation is surrender. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is right, do not doubt it." Doubt is the door through which manipulation enters. And manipulators know how to create doubt with frightening precision. They pretend not to understand your feelings just so you can start over-explaining. They pretend your boundaries are unclear just so you can question them. They pretend your choices are unreasonable just to pull you into a loop where your peace relies on their approval. And this is where strong people differ: they refuse to perform. They refuse to beg to be understood. They refuse to lose themselves for the sake of being accepted. They understand something the weak often overlook: someone who is committed to misunderstanding you will always misunderstand you. Even if you explain yourself 10 times. Even if you speak beautifully. Even if you break yourself down into tiny pieces just to make your thoughts digestible. Some people simply do not want to understand you. Because if they understand you, they can no longer manipulate you. When you over-explain, you place your self-worth in the hands of someone who has no intention of valuing it. You hand them your emotional logic, your internal reasoning, your fears, your guilt, your insecurities, all wrapped neatly in your explanations. You think you are clarifying things for peace, but you are really giving them emotional ammunition. Strong people know this, so they allow their actions to speak. They allow their decisions to stand. They allow their boundaries to remain. They do not plead, they do not soften their truth just to be liked, and they do not justify choices that came from self-awareness. They understand that the more you explain, the more you teach someone how to manipulate you. The next time you feel that burning urge to explain, pause. Ask yourself, is this explanation for clarity, or is it for approval? Is it for peace, or is it to escape guilt? Does it improve the situation, or does it drain my dignity? If the answer doesn't serve your well-being, let silence be enough. And if messages like this feel like they speak directly to something inside you, you can gently tap the like button, not for me, but to remind yourself that you are learning how to step back into your own power. Number 3. They stay calm when provoked. Manipulators do not need you to be wrong, they just need you to be emotional. They want you agitated, angry, confused, desperate, defensive, or guilty. Once you enter any of those emotional states, they gain control. Because the emotional mind reacts instantly, while the rational mind reacts intentionally. This is why staying calm is one of the strongest defenses you will ever develop. Epictetus said, "Any person capable of angering you becomes your master." And he was right. Because when someone can provoke you, they can predict you. And if they can predict you, they can control the outcome of the situation. Manipulators rely on your emotional reflex. They know exactly which words will trigger you, which tone will pressure you, which accusation will destabilize you. They thrive on the moment you raise your voice, or rush to defend yourself, or try too hard to sound innocent. But when you remain calm, you break their script. Calmness interrupts manipulation more effectively than confronting it. It silently communicates that your emotions are not up for negotiation, that your peace is not available for purchase, and that your reactions are not something they can extract from you. Calmness is not passive. It's strategic. It is mental posture. It is emotional discipline. It is the conscious decision to protect your internal state even when the external world is trying to invade it. Premeditatio malorum, the Stoic practice of anticipating challenges, helps you achieve this. Before entering any difficult conversation, ask yourself, what is the worst thing they might say? And how will I respond if they do? This preparation removes the element of surprise. It removes shock. It removes emotional overwhelm. By the time they say what they think will break you, you already rehearsed your calm response. And here is something powerful: calmness disarms people. It forces manipulative individuals to reveal themselves. It shows you the truth without you having to ask for it. Calmness makes their intentions louder than their words, louder than their excuses, louder than their performance. Practice calmness one encounter at a time. When they raise their voice, lower yours. When they accuse, observe. When they pressure, pause. When they provoke, breathe. Peace is power. Calmness is mastery. And if this resonates deeply with you, gently subscribe so you don't miss these weekly lessons. Not out of pressure, but because each new topic is designed to strengthen your inner foundation. Number 4. They choose people, they don't chase them. One of the easiest ways to be manipulated is to attach your self-worth to someone's presence. When you're afraid of losing people, you'll tolerate behavior that damages you. You'll bend your boundaries. You'll shrink your voice. You'll make excuses for things that hurt you, just because you're afraid of being abandoned. But people with strong emotional grounding do the opposite. They choose intentionally, they connect slowly, and they detach wisely. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You will meet many people who are not aligned with your nature. Avoid them." The strong understand that not every person deserves access to their inner world. They don't chase after people who leave. They don't try to convince someone to value them. They don't negotiate for respect. They don't audition for love. They don't beg to be seen. Instead, they trust that the right people, the people aligned with their values, their spirit, and their emotional clarity, will stay without needing to be pursued. Choosing people over chasing them is an act of self-respect. It means you value your energy. It means you value your peace. It means you refuse to let loneliness trick you into accepting chaos disguised as companionship. Chasing is rooted in scarcity. Choosing is rooted in abundance. When you chase, your mindset becomes, "I hope this person likes me." When you choose, your mindset becomes, "Does this person deserve a place in my life?" That shift alone removes 70% of manipulative influence from your relationships. When you stop chasing, you begin attracting. People who value peace will gravitate toward you. People who respect boundaries will admire you. People who prefer emotional clarity will feel safe with you. And manipulators, they usually withdraw, because they realize you are not desperate enough to tolerate their behavior. Evaluate your relationships with honesty. Who drains your energy? Who leaves you doubting yourself? Who makes you feel small, guilty, pressured, or confused? And who, on the other hand, brings calmness, clarity, encouragement, depth, growth, and safety into your life? Strong people keep that second group close and release the first group without emotional ceremony. And if this message feels like something your younger self needed to hear long ago, leave a comment saying, "I choose people who choose peace with me." It reminds your mind exactly what you stand for. Number 5. They judge people by consistency, not by apologies. One of the most deceptive forms of manipulation is the repeated apology that leads nowhere. Some people apologize not to change, but to reset the situation just enough to repeat the same behavior later. They are not seeking forgiveness, they are seeking permission. And over time, those apologies begin to hypnotize you. They make you believe that this time will be different, even when nothing has changed. But emotionally strong individuals see through the illusion. They understand that apologies without change are just rehearsed performances. They understand that the true measure of a person is not in what they promise but in what they repeatedly do. Seneca once stated, "A man's character is shown by his actions, not his words." And this applies deeply to relationships. Manipulators often rely on emotional moments. They cry, they apologize, they confess, they claim they understand, they promise to do better. But strong people have learned not to be swayed by emotional theatrics. They gather data. They observe patterns. They pay attention to long-term behavior rather than short-term emotion. Consistency is the language of truth. If a person consistently honors their word, respects your boundaries, acts with clarity, and shows genuine growth, those are signs of character. But if they consistently make excuses, repeatedly blame others, minimize their wrongdoing, shift the narrative, or repeat the same harmful actions after each apology, that is a pattern, not a mistake. Strong people use what I call the rule of 3. The first time something happens, it can be a misunderstanding. The second time, it becomes a warning. The third time, it becomes a deliberate choice. After the third repetition, a strong person stops trying to fix the behavior and starts accepting the truth. They don't nag, they don't plead, and they don't stay stuck in cycles of emotional bargaining. They simply step back and allow a person's behavior to reveal who they truly are. Every person teaches you how to treat them. But manipulators also teach you how to see them, if you learn to judge behavior instead of promises. If this message resonates with you, drop a quick comment saying, "I trust patterns, not apologies." It's a powerful mindset that will protect your peace more than you realize. Number 6. They guard their energy like sacred currency. Your energy is the most valuable resource you own. Not your money, not your popularity, not your outward achievements, your energy. Because your energy determines how you think, how you feel, how you respond, and how you show up in the world. Manipulators understand this intuitively. That's why they drain you before they attempt to control you. A tired mind is easier to confuse. A drained heart is easier to pressure. A depleted spirit is easier to mislead. Strong people understand this, so they treat their energy like gold. Epictetus taught, "No person who values themselves is careless with their own peace." Your peace is not free. It is earned through discipline, boundaries, and conscious choices. It is maintained through saying no without guilt, walking away without fear, and choosing yourself without apology. Every difficult conversation, every unnecessary argument, every emotional battle, every attempt to explain yourself to someone who has no intention of understanding you, these are taxes on your energy. You pay these taxes with your time, your mental clarity, your confidence, your mood, your sleep, and sometimes even your dreams. Strong people calculate those taxes. They know exactly how expensive it is to give attention to certain individuals. They know that some conversations take hours to get over. They know that some people drain your spirit simply by being in the same room. They know that some interactions leave you feeling heavy, confused, or emotionally cluttered. So they protect their energy fiercely. They say no without softening it. They reject emotional bait. They retreat from conversations that start turning toxic. They refuse to explain their boundaries. They refuse to engage in mental gymnastics. They refuse to carry emotional loads that others are responsible for. They walk away, not because they are weak, but because they understand the cost of staying. Walking away is not a dramatic exit. It's a quiet declaration: I choose my peace over your chaos. Here is a simple exercise: think of 3 people or 3 situations that consistently drain your energy. Notice how you feel after engaging with them. Notice how long it takes you to return to your natural emotional state. That duration is the cost. And strong people refuse to pay that cost repeatedly. Your energy is your life force. Protect it as if your future depends on it, because it does. And if this point hits home, gently tap the subscribe button. This channel exists to help you guard your inner world, and every video teaches you another layer of emotional mastery. Number 7. They let silence reveal the truth. Manipulation cannot survive without engagement. It requires your participation. It needs your explanation. It needs your defensiveness. It needs your emotional reaction. The moment you stop engaging, the manipulation collapses. Silence is the final habit, and it is one of the most powerful. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Silence is a lesson learned through much suffering." And he was right, silence is not easy. Silence takes discipline. Silence takes emotional maturity. Silence takes strength. But silence reveals truths you can never uncover through argument. When you stop responding to toxic behavior, you expose it. When you stop defending yourself, you reveal the manipulator's intention. When you stop participating in their emotional performance, they are forced to face the emptiness of their tactics. Silence is not about ignoring people. It's about refusing to fuel their behavior. Distance is clarity. When you step back, not out of anger, but out of calm observation, you begin to see everything clearly. You start to see who respects you and who only respects the access they had to you. You see who values communication and who only valued control. You see who tries to understand you and who only wanted to be right. Strong people know that silence carries a weight that words never can. Silence says, "I am done explaining myself." Silence says, "I refuse to be emotionally pulled." Silence says, "Your behavior speaks louder than anything you will say." Silence says, "I choose myself." The manipulator feels the silence instantly. They feel the loss of power. They feel the shift. That is why they often try to provoke you again. But when you remain unshaken, the silence becomes the wall they can't climb. If you ever feel tempted to send long emotional paragraphs to explain everything you feel, pause. Write a short, factual message instead if you must, and leave it there. Let silence deliver the rest. Because silence has a way of settling everything into its rightful place. When you stop responding, you stop feeding the illusion that they still have access to your emotions. And that is when they realize, you are no longer someone who can be controlled. If this final habit resonates with something deep inside you, comment, "My silence is power." Let it become your reminder that not every battle deserves your voice. We've walked through the 7 habits that build emotional armor, the habits that turn you into someone who cannot be manipulated, not because you are cold or defensive, but because you are deeply grounded in yourself. From the silence that sees everything, to the calmness that dissolves provocation, to the discipline of protecting your energy, to the wisdom of choosing people instead of chasing them, each habit strengthens a part of you that maybe once felt vulnerable, once felt naive, once felt easy to influence. But now you understand something profound. The real battlefield of manipulation is not out there, it is inside you. Manipulation is only possible when someone can access your emotions faster than you can. It's only possible when someone can influence your reactions more than you can influence them. It's only possible when you abandon yourself in moments where you should have stood still. The Stoics knew this. That's why they placed so much focus on inner stability. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the entire foundation of becoming unmanipulatable. When you master your perception, your emotions, your reactions, your boundaries, and your silence, you become the kind of person no tactic can penetrate. Manipulators depend on access. They depend on confusion. They depend on emotional openings. They depend on you feeling insecure, needy, guilty, or uncertain. But once you begin developing these 7 habits, those openings close. The confusion disappears. The guilt falls apart. The insecurity fades. And something extraordinary takes its place, a calm, quiet, grounded version of you that chooses peace, chooses clarity, and chooses itself. You start seeing people for who they are and not who they pretend to be. You recognize emotional games quickly. You notice patterns sooner. You walk away earlier. You speak less because you understand more. You react less because you see through the manipulation before it even begins. And the people in your life who once relied on your emotional softness to influence you, they begin to feel the shift. They notice your silence. They notice your new calmness. They notice your lack of reaction. They notice your boundaries. They notice the way you carry yourself now, with a quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout or prove anything. You don't announce your growth. You don't explain your transformation. You don't seek applause or validation. Your presence tells the story. Your choices reflect it. Your energy shows it. Your silence confirms it. This is what becoming unmanipulatable truly looks like. Not aggression, not confrontation, not emotional walls, just clarity, self-respect, and mastery over your inner world. And as you walk into the next chapter of your life with these habits, remember something powerful: you do not need anyone's permission to be strong. You do not need anyone's approval to protect your peace. You do not need anyone's understanding to set boundaries. The only permission that matters is your own. The only commitment that matters is the one you make to yourself. These habits are not tricks, they are lifelong practices. They are ways of living that transform you from the inside out. So take them with you. Practice them daily. Let them become part of your identity, part of your thinking, part of your natural response to the world. And before you go, I want you to do something simple but powerful. Leave a short comment with the words, "I choose peace over everything." Let that be your affirmation, your anchor, your reminder every time life tries to pull you into chaos. If this video touched something deep within you, if it helped you see yourself more clearly, or helped you rise into a stronger version of yourself, you can tap the like button to support the channel. It helps this message reach more people who need it. And if you want to be here every week, building inner strength, emotional clarity, and unshakable confidence, you can gently tap subscribe. No pressure. Just an invitation to continue growing with a community that values calmness over chaos, depth over drama, and truth over noise. And if you ever feel moved to support this work further, the thanks button is always there. But your presence, your growth, and your engagement already mean more than you know. We are building a calm mind together, step by step, habit by habit, choice by choice. And as you move forward after this lesson, carry this final truth with you: your silence, your clarity, and your emotional discipline are becoming your most powerful forms of strength. Until the next lesson in self-mastery, take care of your mind. Guard your energy. And stay committed to the person you are becoming. Be well.